Hello everyone, I'm here again for another tutorial. This is How to Shoot Your Dragon, our third Murfy level for this world. So this Murfy level is not quite the same as Rope's Course. Rope's Course, Murfy does get in the way, but not in the same way this level does. In this level, Murfy can get stuck on a lot of things, and it's important for you to manage Murfy well and make sure you don't press him too early for basically everything he does in this level. Almost everything, especially in the beginning. Yeah, that's kind of what Murfy is all about in this particular level. But we don't have him in the very beginning of the level here, so this first jump here is to avoid touching this rope or this chain link for as long as possible, because of course, as we discussed before, chain links cap your speed, so it's best to avoid them. So we slide down and we fall, but we don't fall too low, because if you touch the fire, and the fire has pretty big hitboxes, so it'll throw you off, probably. So yeah, don't get too close to the fire, that will, well, slow you down. Taking hits generally isn't a great thing to do. If you are on the PS4 or the Xbox One version, since you don't start off with the hearts, because you don't have the interactive loading screens, if you are on that version of the game, do a roll attack here. The speed difference is, well, there's no speed difference. It's the same exact thing. But if you do a roll attack here, you'll be able to grab this heart at the very beginning. But since this is the PC version, grabbing that heart isn't really meaningful. Okay. So in this part of the level, you're able to ground pound right down here. There's barely a lip here that you can ground pound onto. But as long as you hug the wall before you ground pound, you're guaranteed to land here, so it's not a hard trick at all. You have to make sure that you don't just fall straight down, because if you fall straight down, you're guaranteed to grab this chain link. And grabbing this chain link is risky, because it will force you to move to the left, and if you are ever so slightly to the left, you will instead ground pound towards this area, which will instantly kill you, even if you have a heart. So yeah, what you want to do is, the fastest way to do it without slowing you down too much is to very lightly tap the hover button so that you don't grab the chain link. You still retain most of your speed, and you're able to hug the wall and ground pound. And now Murfy, the best character. All right, let's go. Okay, this will probably be the hardest trick in terms of like timing, because I think it's just mainly a 1-frame window. So of course have your Murfy button ready to move this thing out of the way, because you really don't want this in the way when you try to do this fast. So what I'm doing here is a frame perfect ground pound right on the side of this ledge. If you do it too early, you'll actually get a corner ground pound where you ricochet off of it and you land over here. And if you're too late, you'll be ground pounding more over here, and you'll be ground pounding the enemy. And if you ground pound the enemy, you're forced to pop up into the air, and that's never really a good thing. We try to avoid that whenever we can, except for very few scenarios we'll see in later levels. But they're very few far between. In this case, we definitely do not want to pop up in the air. But yeah, it's a frame perfect ground pound. If you can land it, that's good. If you miss it, you'll be wasting time, but you have to understand that you're not going to hit every trick whenever you do a run of this game. You're going to miss something. So if you miss it, shake it off, no big deal. You're wasting a few seconds, but you can't land everything. That's not going to happen. And the fastest way to do this, I found, I know you can spin here because the fire here is still spawning. This fire is not in your way yet, so you can technically spin to the left, but I've found that this cage tends to drift away and your spin won't hit it, so you end up clumsily using your attack to grab it, and it'll end up being slower. So what I do is, after I ground pound, I just do a short hop over the cage and over the bumper, ground pound, and I grab the chain. And then I jump off. I don't use Murfy to bring me back, because that would be slower. It's slower because Murfy can get stuck on things whenever you use Murfy on a moving platform. So it's best to not use it when we have another Murfy object we need to interact as soon as possible. It's best to not interact with that. So as soon as you get close to this accordion thing, you go ahead and press the Murfy button. You want to make sure you don't spin right away. If you spin right away, as he opens this up, you're going to hit the spikes. Even though I'm kind of in the spikes right now, for whatever reason, if you spin too early, you're going to hit the spikes guaranteed. So it's best to wait a second before you spin. Alright. The thing with Murfy is that he gets stuck on this accordion for a little while, so you're not able to interact with this thing until Murfy decides he's done messing with this. So you just have to wait around until he's ready to move this. Okay. So this Quincy has one of these things again. this wheel that Murphy grabs onto, make sure you hit the Murphy button as soon as you can to make Murphy grab onto that. Because he doesn't grab onto that instantly once you enter this room. He takes like 2 seconds to do that. So it's best to make sure you have Murphy on that as soon as possible. And you spin up and wall climb up to this pillar. Once you're on top, you can spin jump onto this chain. And the important thing with chains in this game that's kind of weird, when you first grab onto a chain, you aren't where your snap point is going to be when you grab it. Glowbox's snap point, you see his hand here grabbing up here. If you wait for a few frames, he will end up snapping to right about here with his hand. So right now he's a little bit higher and more towards the left. This is an important thing to note, because what we're going to do right now is jump off the chain with a full jump, and we are going to grab the teensy with an up air attack. So we're going to be jumping off the chain, going to be grabbing the teensy from there. So if you wait too long when you jump off of this thing, you're going to be too low. So you want to jump off of this chain as quickly as you can, buffer the jump, and just jump right up. You do have to stall yourself in the air with a kick, but you can just immediately do an up kick, or slap for Glowbox's case. And there you go. Easy teensy. Alright. So again, we have more accordions coming up. These things have a delayed reaction when you use the Murphy button on him. Murphy does not immediately move them for whatever reason. I can't tell you why, but Murphy does not immediately move these when you press the Murphy button. So you have to account for that. Let's take a look at our input viewer here and see when I press the Murphy button to move this thing back up. Because what I want to do right now is move this platform back up and spin dash off of it over the chain link. Because again, we do not want to touch the chain link. That is slow. So yeah, the Murphy... Here we go. This is where I inputted the Murphy button. It's the GameCube controller's X button here. That's where I inputted it. And he does not respond for like 20-ish frames. It's like a third of a second. It's a lot of delay. So yeah, make sure to account for that. My move was a little bit clumsy here. You don't have to like turn around and hover there. Like I was being paranoid. That was a mistake. I ended up grabbing the chain link anyway, so don't do this. An example of what not to do. So yeah, again, this is also another accordion. Remember, it's delayed. Take that into account. Also, I forgot to note that this level is another lucky ticket level. So we are required to grab 450 lumps. That is a requirement. So again, grab as many lumps as you can. If you will optimize all the lumps in this level, you wouldn't necessarily have to grab this lump coin, but I grab it normally for safety because it doesn't waste a whole lot of time by grabbing it, and it's for safety. But since this isn't an auto-scroller, you have to optimize your lum routing, because if you go out of your way to grab lums, you will waste time, because it's not an auto-scroller anymore. Not at all. Not like a quicksand. So, this section is where Murphy can get really stuck if you carelessly press the Murphy button. So if you manage Murphy well here, this can be a really quick section. You just have to make sure you never get Murphy stuck on anything. You have to really be careful about that. Never press Murphy until these platforms are done moving. So in this section, it's important to take into account Murphy triggers, and that's where if you move to a certain point in the level, Murphy will move to a nearby object that it is assigned to move to. That's how Murphy AI works. If you move into a trigger zone, Murphy will move to that object that trigger's telling Murphy to do. Basically, that's kind of what it's doing. So it's important that we also make sure that we jump into that Murphy trigger before we press the Murphy button, in this case especially, because if we just sit on this platform and stand on this platform, Murphy will not attach to this platform here. You have to be well above and on this platform before Murphy is able to be used on this platform. So that's one thing you have to take into account. You have to make sure you are above this platform and not above this one. And again, there's another Murphy trigger here. I believe if you just stand on this platform, Murphy will not latch onto this, so you have to jump here. Alright, so we have a fancy little ground pound here. It's not a big deal if you miss that. That saves frames at most, so go for that if you want. Anyways. So here's a neat little trick about sliding down walls in this game. Right now, I am attached to this wall, and I haven't started sliding down it yet. So I take this opportunity to use Murphy to push me up while I'm still attached to the wall. As you can see, I moved up with that platform, and only now am I starting to slide down that platform. So if you have good timing, you're able to stay attached to the platform while a Murfy moves this thing up. That'll save a bit of time, and it'll save you wall jumps as well. Again, a minor use of using Glowbox's hitboxes. Glowbox's hitboxes, that fucking rhymes, oh my god. Fucking rhymes, that annoys me, I didn't intend that. But, yeah, barely saves any time, but it still saves time by taking advantage of Glowbox's hitboxes. God damn it. I don't like how that rhymes, man. That makes it sound corny. This jump sequence is important. There's a few jump sequences you can use, but it's important that you find a jump sequence that works where you can jump over this guy, because the important thing is to land here and roll jump over him. You have no room to spin, and yeah, you have to make sure you jump over him. If you don't jump over him, you're gonna have to tickle him or slowly, clumsily hover over him. Make sure you have a roll jump sequence that you can use that you will be able to roll jump over this guy. So in this section, all we do is spin off here. If we don't kill this enemy, that'll be slow, because the only way to kill the enemy is by grabbing the chain link, and that's not a good thing to do. So we avoid him. And we tap down on the D-pad or analog stick to just drop off the chain link. And we jump on the teensy. So, here's another case where we have to make sure we carefully space our ground pound to where we do not land on an enemy, because an enemy is down this pit, and we are going to be ground pounding towards it. So, we don't want to ground pound on the enemy. That'll force us to pop up. So, we have two options here. The option I'm going to use is the faster method, but it's also the harder method, by ground pounding right next to this wall. It's not frame perfect like that ground pound we had in the beginning, but it's still tight on timing. You have to ground pound next to this wall. Or we could run off, grab the chain, jump off the chain, and hug the wall and then ground pound. Both ways, we will be able to avoid ground pounding the enemy, and we will not pop up into the air. Like that. If you were bad on spacing, you would have hit on top of the enemy, and you would have popped up. That's not good at all. Alright, nothing too fancy here at all. Okay, and here is a Glowbox specific trick that saves 0 frames. It is literally the exact same, but I like doing it because it looks cool. And it's not hard to execute at all. The spacing and the speed you get and all that, the spacing is perfect, and it's very hard to mess this up. You see I'm spinning towards this guy, and I haven't even tickled him. But Glowbox's slap can just punch right through him. It's not even his backwards kick. Even his front slap is larger than Rayman's front kick. So yeah, that's how overpowered Glowbox is. So that's one method you can use. You could also use this method where you just jump over. All you do is jump over and attack. They are about the same. Neither is faster than the other, really. And of course, that second method is required if you're using Rayman. Rayman cannot punch through those shields at all. Alright, moving on. We're kind of ignoring Murfy here. Of course, Murfy is, again, slower for those ropes. If you were to cut this rope and have him swing, it would technically be slower. We could just use it as a chain link and jump over to the TC. Have the Murfy button ready to tickle this guy as soon as possible, because if we delay it, we're just going to sit around waiting until this guy is able to be taken care of. Okay. Again, I'm grabbing the Lum coin for safety. I should also note that my Lum counter might be inconsistent, and that's because this run of the level is spliced. So, by the end of the level, the Lum counter will be nowhere near 450, but if you're doing this all in one segment, it should be around that level by the end. Alright, so we roll jump up to the chain link, wall climb, and spin away from the teensy. Nothing too fancy. Alright, so this section, I didn't execute this very well, but the fastest way to clear this section is by spin jumping off one of these platforms and grabbing with a rope and ground pounding on top of these pillars here, the spiked pillars, and we do it for both of these, and then we just spin right off of them. It's a bit tricky to navigate this section here, because there's a teensy down here, but there's also a floor and a pit down here, so I recommend you learn where the platform is here, as if you don't know, you're likely to mess up and fall into the pit instead of actually landing on the platform. So yeah, learn the spacing there. So what I do here is I land on this platform and I jump over, I jump under this spiked platform here, We don't use Murfy. Again, we're avoiding him because it's technically faster to land low on one of these chains than to land high. Because all we have to do is do small jumps all the way up, and we'll land perfectly up here. I actually accidentally did a large jump here, but it's possible to just do small jumps off these chains and land perfectly here. And we also don't have to worry about using Murfy to get rid of these fire enemies because they're not spawning in time for them to be any obstacle. Yeah, don't worry about those. And now we're in the mini boss area with the dragons. Okay, what we have here is our new temporary ability. This ability we have here that this wizard gives us is temporary and it level specific. When you receive it, you will have it for the rest of the level. Basically, all you need to know is whenever we do an attack, on top of the attack we normally do, we'll also launch one of these projectiles, these fist projectiles forward. Like so. You see this projectile is launching out of us, as well as us doing a normal air attack. Right now, we're actually getting up and close to these dragons to where our normal air slap attack will kill him. Like so. That's our air slap killing him. When the enemy's cleared, that allows our projectile to easily go through without colliding with anything. Because if the enemy was still here, the projectile will collide with this and would vanish. So we take care of the enemy using our normal attack, and without using any other extra inputs, we let our projectile run forward and hit this teensy cage for free. As you can see, we actually attack twice here. And that's not necessarily for safety reasons. It's because there's a dragon up here. Doing another attack up there is not going to waste any time because we're already doing an air attack, and if you do more air attacks in the air, that's not going to slow you down anymore. So it's good to just do another air attack there and kill this enemy so we don't have to worry about it later. Alright, so this trick is a bit fancy. I mean, it's not too fancy, but it is a bit hard to execute if you don't know what's going on. So what we're going to do is, we're not going to wall jump off here. We're actually going to jump through this thin wall, turn around, and then wall jump up. I'm going to show you that right now. Like, that's what we do. We don't wall jump off this, we just wall jump here. We go through the wall, and then we just wall jump off the wall we went through. It's the only wall like this that I can think of that's in the game, where it's a thin wall that you can wall jump off of. It's a bit weird. So this is the only case in the entire game where I think this would ever apply, but you can attack, turn around, and when you turn around, you'll start sliding down the wall. As you can see, I'm sliding down, and that will allow you to wall jump off. I recommend you practice that because that can be a bit tricky to execute and know what inputs you need to do to actually get that going, but once you know the inputs, it's not too hard. So a thing about these dragons here is they don't have hitboxes on their bodies. The only hitboxes they have is once they start breathing fire. And as you can see right now, this dragon ain't a threat because he's not breathing fire. So we can just land on top of him and spin right through him. Alright. If you're good on lums, and if you have 455 lums after you kill this dragon, and you have a heart, you should be good because hearts give you 5 extra lums when you exit the level. But if you have less than that, you have to, instead of ground pounding on this bumper, you have to skip that bumper and ground pound on this one. Because this is our only backup lums we can grab before the end of the level. So if you're actually good on lums, we could just ground pound on this easily. The bumper's angle is actually quite horizontal, so if you ground pound on it, you'll have quite a bit of horizontal speed that you can carry over to the finish. Just like that. And we're good. That is the end of the level. So yeah, I personally don't consider this as bad as Ropes Course. Ropes Course kind of annoys me with Murfy. Even though Murfy in this level is more prone to getting stuck, I don't find it as annoying here. It's easier to manage for me, honestly. It's still a Murfy level, and I still don't enjoy it a whole lot, but it's not too bad here, at least in my opinion. So yeah, that was How to Shoot a Dragon. I hope you guys learned something. As you guys probably figured by now, I've been saying this every time. I am live streaming this. There's a chat up there, and we also had Ish again. He was here yesterday, and he's here again today. So yeah, Ish was there earlier, and it'd be nice if I had more people here asking questions, if they had any questions, or just wanted to chat or whatever while I'm doing these videos. I enjoy doing these recordings, but I also like to interact with people as I'm doing them, because it can get it kind of feels weird talking to myself this whole time. It feels weird to me, so that's why I prefer to live stream it as well. So if you guys want to check me out, go to twitch.tv/DJTHED. and you can check me out when I do these live streams. So far, I've been doing these tutorial recordings every day. I'm not sure if I will be able to keep up with the daily thing, but the reason I'm doing it so often right now is because we have a lot of levels to get through. I want to see if I can get this done before Smash Ultimate comes out, because once I get Ultimates, it's likely that I won't be going back to this game for a little while, because I'm going to be focusing on that. So yeah, I want to get as much as I can done before that date, and I intend to live stream as often as I can. So yeah, that's it.